Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh, coming up in the next hour. 2611 mastermind Mahavir Rana extradited from the US for his role in deadly Mumbai attack to land in Delhi shortly. Multi-agency team to interrogate Rana. President Draupadi Murmu engages with Slovakia-India Business Forum, focus on deepening cooperation. Another turnaround by President Trump unveils 90-day pause on tariffs for most countries, hits China harder with 125%. Global markets make historic gains. The International Olympic Committee approves a competition program for the LA Games. For the first time in history, games to feature more female athletes than male. India celebrates Mahavir Jayanti, the most important festival for Jain community, commemorates birth of Lord Mahavir. Mahavir Rana, the accused of masterminding the 2008 Mumbai terror attacks, has been extradited from the United States and is expected to arrive in India shortly, accompanied by a special team of intelligence and NIA officials. The extradition comes after the US Supreme Court recently rejected Mahavir's last appeal, essentially clearing the way for his handover to Indian authorities. Mahavir Rana, a Pakistani origin Canadian businessman, is known to have been an active operative of terror outfit Lashkar-e-Toiba and played a pivotal role in facilitating travel documents for David Coleman Headley. Mahavir Rana and David Headley were detained by the FBI at the Chicago airport in October 2009.
जिन लोगों ने भी भारत की जमीन, भारत का सम्मान और भारत के नागरिकों के साथ दुर्व्यवहार भी किया है, वो हमारे कानून के जद में लाना चाहिए। और मैं मानता हूं तब राणा की यहां वापिस आना ये मोदी सरकार की कूटनीति का बहुत बड़ी सफलता है, क्योंकि जिनके समय में जब बम धमाके हुए वो तो ला नहीं पाए, मगर आज वो वापिस आएगा, हमारी अदालत के सामने पेश होगा, हमारे संविधान के तहत उसको सजा होगी। ये देश के लिए बहुत बड़ी उपलब्धि है।
The Indian government has appointed Advocate Narendra Maan as Special Public Prosecutor for National Investigation Agency (NIA) in the 2611 Mumbai terror attack. Narendra Maan will represent the NIA in the special courts and appellate courts in Delhi. The appointment is made for a period of 3 years or till the completion of the trial, whichever is earlier. So, who is Mahavir Rana and what is the case against him? Let's take a look at this report.
Mahavir Rana holds Canadian citizenship and has Pakistani origins. He faces charges in India for his involvement in the 2008 Mumbai attacks and was found guilty in the US for aiding Lashkar-e-Taiba. India is seeking his extradition for his role in the 2611 attacks. Rana assisted David Headley, a co-conspirator in the attack, who held US citizenship and Pakistani heritage. Rana provided Headley with false credentials to help him scout targets for the attack. In January this year, the US Supreme Court rejected Mahavir Rana's petition, and that was quickly followed up by Senator Rubio authorizing Rana's extradition in February. Later on, US President Donald Trump announced the extradition of Mahavir Rana to India, adding that he would face justice. He made the announcement during a joint press conference with Prime Minister Narendra Modi following their bilateral meeting. Rana's defense filed for more documents on February 13. On February 19, the court denied his request to delay the extradition. Again, the Ninth Circuit rejected his appeal on February 21. Rana filed an emergency request with the US Supreme Court within a week, which was also rejected on March 5, 2025. And on April 7, the US Supreme Court again rejected his plea for a stay on his extradition to India.
DD India correspondent Amritpal Singh is joining us from the NIA headquarters. Amrit, what are the legal and investigation procedures and protocols that will be followed once Mahavir Rana is here in Delhi?
He arrives here in Delhi, the NIA will, produce him in the court. It is being said that he would be produced in the NIA court where this case is currently on, the 2611 case. He could be, produced by video conferencing, though that court is here in Delhi itself, but because he's a high security prisoner or a high security accused, he may not be physically moved and could be presented through video conferencing. The NIA would seek police remand of his or police custody of his, citing that he needs to be interrogated to know further the details of the conspiracy behind 2611 attacks. Once the NIA, if the court grants police custody to the NIA would look at interrogating him. Interestingly, it was earlier said that he would be produced in front of the Mumbai police, etc. But that would not be there because the case, the 2611 case, now has been transferred to the NIA court. The NIA is the official investigating agency now. Though Kasab was prosecuted, the prosecution in the Kasab's case or the investigating agency was Mumbai police, but in 2011, when the NIA filed the charge sheet and lodged an FIR naming Mahavir himself, the case was moved to the NIA. He may be taken to Mumbai for doing recce if some leads are, it leads to something and that requires his physical movement to Mumbai. But what we are hearing is that his physical movement would be restrained because of security concerns. And then they produce the charge if they want to. Yeah, if I may complete, if they want to press additional charges, they will press additional charges, produce him in court, and his trial begins. Yes,
and Amrit, if you can also give us a sense of what Rana's extradition means in the larger context of investigation into the Mumbai terror attack case.
It's a major milestone in the sense that the only person tried and convicted till now has been Ajmal Amir Kasab, who was a low-level functionary, a low-level executioner. He was a young illiterate boy who didn't know much. Mahavir Rana's involvement, of course, was at a higher level. So this extradition means that the NIA would, or India would get to know where exactly was this conspiracy hatched, who all were involved. Was it just the Lashkar-e-Taiba alone? Was there direct involvement of Hafiz Saeed? Was the ISI involved? Who in the ISI and the Pakistani military was involved? So his interrogation could lead to all these revelations. And his extradition means a step forward in the closure of the 2611 case. Shubhendu?
Amrit, thank you for joining us with those updates. Moving on, in a sharp policy shift, President Trump has paused new tariffs for 90 days period but hiked the duties on Chinese imports to 125%. China has hit back with 84% levy. Global leaders see hope for talks, but experts warn of rising risks across Asia.
In a dramatic policy reversal, US President Donald Trump has hit pause on new tariffs for 90 days. But not without a punch. Tariffs on Chinese imports are shooting up immediately to a staggering 125%. Meanwhile, the baseline 10% tariffs on most other countries introduced on April 5 will remain during the 90-day pause.
I did a 90-day pause for the people that didn't retaliate because I told them if you retaliate, we're going to double it. And that's what I did with China because they did retaliate. China wants to make a deal. They just don't know how quite to go about it. You know, it's one of those things they don't know how quite. They're proud people. And President Xi's a proud man. I know him very well. And they don't know quite how to go about it.
China wasted no time in retaliating, announcing an 84% levy on US goods starting April 10.
In a trade war with the United States, the US will definitely not be able to defeat China. China's manufacturing is well-rounded. Moreover, Trump seems to be making enemies all over the world.
The US has started to increase tariffs again, but China is not afraid and will respond.
In Hong Kong, residents voiced worry that tensions might spiral beyond reason.
When they increased the tariff to 54%, it was already very detrimental. Increasing it further is totally useless.
I suspect it will eventually end up being a compromise because otherwise it's just going to be ridiculous. The amount of trade that's going to lose out, the amount of people they're going to lose.
Despite the pause, tariffs on Canadian and Mexican goods set at 25% are still firmly in place. Still, world leaders from Europe, Japan and Vietnam are calling this an opportunity for dialogue.
Nobody wins a trade war. Everybody loses. For this, the measure announced by the US administration, pending review of the exact details, seems like an open door for negotiation and as such to an agreement between countries.
I think we'll have time as we would have to queue up like many other countries for negotiations. So we will make sure that we tighten up our plans to make them better, and we have plans to negotiate on every front.
But the threat of economic fallout remains. Experts warn of job losses, unrest and possible recession across Asia.
Massive unemployment because of this policy, because of the tariffs, then I think it's a real possibility. But it also depends on how the governments respond.
Trump's pause excludes earlier tariffs like the 25% duties on steel, aluminium and autos, already shaking markets. As the world holds its breath, all eyes are on what the next 90 days will bring. Tripti Tripathi for DD India.
India's Minister of Commerce and Industry Piyush Goyal has welcomed decision of US President Trump on giving 90-day relief on tariffs to India.
भारत तो बहुत समझदारी से इस पूरे विषय को पहले से संभाल रही है। प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी और प्रेसिडेंट ट्रंप ने फरवरी में ही निर्णय ले लिया था कि हम आपसी संबंध बढ़ाते हुए बायलैटरल ट्रेड एग्रीमेंट एक ऐसा करार करेंगे जो भारत और यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स के बीच व्यापार को सरल भी करेगा, 500 बिलियन तक यानी आज से 2.5 गुना बढ़ाने का काम भी करेगा। देशवासियों को नौकरी के और अधिक साधन मिलेंगे, देश की अर्थव्यवस्था को और बल मिलेगा। तो मैं समझता हूँ भारत तो वैसे भी इस रेस में आगे था और हमारी बातचीत बहुत अच्छी प्रोग्रेस की।
The global trade chaos continues as US President Trump has backed down from his tariff threats, announcing a 90-day pause on all tariffs except those against China. Lars Holter is with DW, joins me from Berlin. Lars, from the EU perspective, what can you tell us about these latest developments?
Europe was as surprised as anyone when the news broke yesterday. Markets here had already closed, once again with heavy losses, and then that statement came. One can only wonder how many people had pressured Trump behind the scenes. Obviously, the tariffs had been enormously unpopular, even in his own closest circle. Now, Trump, however, doesn't sell down. He says it's a reaction to over 75 countries calling him, offering to make.
We now take you live to Slovakia. President Draupadi Murmu is participating in India-Slovak Business Summit.
For jointly organizing this event, which is an important step in giving direction to our future economic partnership. India and Slovakia have historically shared close and friendly relations. Over the years, our countries have collaborated in various sectors. It is now time to explore the diversification of our trade basket. Yesterday, I had productive meetings with President Pellegrini and Prime Minister Fico. We agreed to intensify our partnership in all spheres, including our business and economic ties. India is committed to enhancing trade relations with Slovakia. The large businesses, delegations representing diverse fields, which has accompanied me, clearly shows the interest of Indian businesses to explore opportunities in Slovakia. We have seen a similar interest from Slovakia. It is a matter of great satisfaction to see enthusiastic participation from both sides in today's event. I understand that 3 business delegations have been exchanged in the last 3 months. Currently, the world's 5th largest economy, India is on its way to becoming the 3rd largest before the end of this decade. India is undergoing a remarkable transformation, emerging as a global leader in technology, innovation, and sustainable development. We have seen significant success in renewable energy, digital technology, information technology, telecom, auto and auto components, pharma and biotechnology, space and fintech. The rapid growth in digital infrastructure has put India at the forefront of technological innovation, be it the availability of day-to-day services through mobile and online platforms, of cashless transactions. Digital transformation in every field is rapidly boosting India's development. India is the 3rd largest startup ecosystem in the world. Our expectation is to become a $5 trillion economy in the coming years, and we hope to do it in partnership with our friends such as Slovakia. Friends, India is one of the fastest growing economies in the world, and Slovakia, with its strong industrial base and strategic location in Europe, presents great opportunities for deeper trade and investment ties. As a key member of the European Union and a hub for automotive, defense, and high-tech industries, Slovakia stands to benefit from India's vast consumer market, skilled workforce, and thriving startup ecosystem. The automotive sector, in particular, has emerged as a strong link between our two nations. Tata Motors subsidiary, Jaguar Land Rover, has made a significant investment in Slovakia, including a manufacturing facility in Nitra, operating since 2018. This state-of-the-art plant, producing models like the Land Rover Discovery and Defender, underscores Slovakia's growing role in global automobile manufacturing. I appreciate President Pellegrini's valuable contribution in facilitating this investment, which has further deepened our economic partnership. Beyond the automotive industry, many other Indian companies established a presence in Slovakia, many of whom are represented here today. Similarly, several Slovak firms are actively participating in India's industrial growth. These collaborations highlight the growing depth of our economic engagement. In today's world of uncertainties, India stands out as a shining example of progress due to its stable political environment and reform-oriented economic agenda, which encourages manufacturing sector and promotes ease of business. I invite Slovak companies to join our Make in India initiative. Slovakia is looking for hard-working, skilled workers and professionals from overseas to help meet its workforce requirements. I am convinced that Indian talent can be a valuable partner in the economic progress of Slovakia. Bilateral trade between India and Slovakia has been growing steadily. In 2024, trade crossed 1.2 billion euros. I believe this figure remains far below our true potential. This business forum serves as an excellent platform to explore synergies, and build mutually beneficial partnerships. Today, I urge our business leaders to seize the opportunities and convert these into concrete results. The time is ripe to accelerate this growth. I am confident that the deliberations at this forum will lead a lasting partnerships. Let us work together to build a future of shared prosperity, innovation, and sustainable growth. I wish you all good luck and success in your business endeavors. Thank you. Thank you very much.
That was President Draupadi Murmu attending and addressing the Slovakia-India Business Forum in Bratislava. President Murmu is on a visit to Slovakia. She spoke about the close ties between India and Slovakia and also the key milestones of India's growing economy and the manner in which it can further accelerate the relations between the two countries. Still to come on DD India News Hour. Donald Trump reiterates threat to use military force if Iran does not agree to nuclear deal. South Korea opposition leader announces bid for presidency.
Even small shifts can make a big difference. Whether it's the way we commute, what we eat, or the way we power our lives. What can we do today to ensure a greener and more inclusive tomorrow?
The pollution control starts from the procurement of the fuel. So we go for low sulfur and low ash coal.
First step is towards creating a safe, comfortable and risk-free access trips, which is walking.
There are ways in which you can make journeys smoother, more punctual, more reliable by improving, say, signalling, giving bus priority.
The farmers' organization offers them a standard price. When all the farmers are paid the same, you can really see the impact on their lives.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. US President Donald Trump on Wednesday reiterated threat to use military force if Iran does not agree to nuclear deal. Trump's statement came just days ahead of reported talks between the two countries. Talking to reporters, Donald Trump added Israel would be the leader of a military option.
With Iran, if it requires military, we're going to have military. Israel will obviously be very much involved in that. He'll be the leader of that. But nobody leads us. We do what we want to do. That's because when the election was rigged, I figured they'd get the weapon because...
In other developments, the US has acknowledged Panama's sovereignty over the Panama Canal, with US Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth stating that protecting Panamanian sovereignty from malign influence is crucial. The recognition comes amid heightened tensions over Chinese influence in the region. During Hegseth's visit to Panama, the two nations announced plans to deepen military cooperation, including joint training exercises. However, Panama rejected the US proposal for a permanent military presence, with the Minister for Public Security, Frank Abrego, emphasizing that Panama will not allow permanent US military bases. The joint statement released by the US and Panama had discrepancies in English and Spanish versions, with Spanish version explicitly recognizing Panama's sovereignty over the canal. Despite this, Hegseth assured that US understands the canal is in Panama and will partner with the country to secure it.
Secretary Hegseth, in the meeting we had in private, recognized the sovereignty of Panama over the Panama Canal and recognized they must respect the neutrality treaty and our country's constitution. The same way we respect the US Constitution and laws when we start any negotiation.
And protecting Panamanian sovereignty from malign influence is important, which is why when President Trump says we're taking back the Panama Canal from Chinese influence, that involves partnership with the United States and Panama. And we're grateful that they've welcomed U.S. troops on Panamanian soil by invitation through rotational joint exercises, and that's what you'll see in the Memorandum of Understanding, is an opportunity to revive, whether it's the military base, naval air station, locations where U.S. troops can work with Panamanian troops to enhance capabilities.
US and Russian delegations to meet in Istanbul on Thursday to discuss the restoration of normal diplomatic operations. As tensions remain high following the Ukraine conflict, the talks are led by Russia's new ambassador to Washington, Alexander Darchev, and US Deputy Assistant Secretary of State, Senata Kulta. Both sides aim to address issues that have strained diplomatic ties in recent years, such as delayed visa approvals, restricted movement of diplomats, frozen diplomatic assets. Russia also cited difficulties in paying its diplomats due to Western sanctions, while US officials have reported cases of harassment and limited access in Russia. The meeting represents a cautious attempt by both nuclear powers to ease long-standing friction and improve communication between their diplomatic missions. Meanwhile, the next round of Ukraine-US talks over mineral steel may take place next week. Ukrainian President Zelensky said that on Wednesday that the talks would focus on technical aspects and foundations of future agreement. Zelensky told reporters that mineral steel with the US should be profitable for both sides and could be structured in a way that would help modernize Ukraine. He informed that Ukraine's delegation would be headed by a deputy economy minister. Updates from South Korea now, where opposition leader Lee Jae-myung has declared his bid for the June 3rd presidential elections. Lee Jae-myung is the front-runner in opinion polls to be the country's next leader. The elections will be held after former President Yoon Suk-yeol's impeachment, stemming from December martial law declaration, was upheld on April. Lee lost by the slimmest margin in the country's history when he ran against Yoon in 2022 presidential elections. But last year, he led his Liberal Democratic Party to a landslide victory in the parliamentary elections and enjoyed strong support from Liberal voters. Let's now turn to other stories making news around the world. King Charles makes a surprise visit to Pope Francis at the Vatican on Wednesday during their visit to Italy. The meeting marks a rare and personal engagement between the Vatican and the British monarchy, underscoring continued diplomatic and spiritual ties. Papua New Guinea has announced an immediate end to its 3-year ban on forest carbon credit schemes, clearing the path for global carbon offset initiatives in Pacific nation's vast tropical forest. The lifting of the moratorium marks a key step in the nation's efforts to position itself as a player in the global climate finance market. Gabon is turning its gaze to ecotourism, aiming to unlock the potential of its untouched natural beauty, from the white sands of Point Denis to the lush rainforest teeming with wildlife. The country is looking to attract global travelers. With plans to woo world tourism, the nation hopes the upcoming presidential election will further prioritize tourism as a key driver of sustainable growth. Still to come on DD India News Hour. We talk about the implications of the Trump tariffs and the turnaround. India-UK continue negotiation towards free trade agreement. Several parts of India receive rains in the wee hours on Thursday.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the Economic Brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
You're watching DT India News Hour. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. Our top stories. 2611 mastermind Rana extradited from the US for his role in deadly Mumbai attack to land in Delhi shortly. Multi-agency team to interrogate Rana. Another turnaround by President Trump unveils 90-day pause on tariffs for most countries, hits China harder with 125%. Global markets make historic gains. International Olympic Committee approves competition program for the LA Games. For the first time in history, games to feature more female athletes than male. We now return to our big story of Donald Trump's tariffs and the turnarounds. Professor Gulshan Sachdeva is joining us. He's from School of International Studies, JNU. Professor Sachdeva, good afternoon and welcome. First, what does the 90-day pause to US tariffs mean for India?
Well, I think this is obviously a positive development, not just for India, but every country in the world which was slapped so-called reciprocal tariffs. But at the same time, I think the game is also, the United States game is also getting clearer now. What we have seen that this particular 3 months gap would be applied on every country except China, but 10% base tariff will remain for everyone. It means every country, products will have to be 10% extra tariff now, which will continue. And only two major retaliations which we have seen, one from the Chinese, and the second, the European Union, they have also announced their own phased out 20 billion, more than 20 billion euro, retaliatory measures, particularly in the agriculture and other products. But at the moment, I think this only 10% tariff will be there for the United States. So the American officials are also indicating that more than 75 countries, they have approached them for bilateral negotiations.
Right.
So there are now 2-3 points. One is that two major trading powers of the world, United States and China, they continue to be at the loggerheads. The United States have announced 125% tariffs on Chinese goods, and the Chinese, in retaliation, they have also announced more than 84% or so on most of their products and many other measures. It means, yes, there is a certain thing positive for the global economy, for the global markets, but the uncertainty as far as China and the US is that will continue. And since United States want everybody to negotiate with them bilaterally, and I think they also expect that ultimately China would also come to the negotiating table. Now, if that happens, then what we are seeing really is that the end of the whole global trade, the governance under WTO. So it means if all major players, including China, United States, India, and at some point maybe the European Union itself, they have also indicated that they would like to also do certain things bilaterally with the United States, because this is what everyone else is also doing. If this is what we are, the future of the global trade negotiations are, then obviously we are entering a very different phase in which what all the gains which were achieved through WTO since the establishment of WTO, all the gains, particularly the many developing countries, including China, India, and others, those who benefited from this. This is going to be very different, because all the tariffs which have been being negotiated now with the United States. So these tariffs were already negotiated.
Right.
WTO with the United States and every other country.
A little more on that. If you could simplify this breakdown of established global economic order that you're talking about, that sort of is put together by the WTO. What does this breakdown mean for global economy and developing economies like India ahead?
Well, in that sense, because, what happens is when you are negotiating globally, then, you also build coalitions. Like yesterday, more than 30 countries in Latin America, they were meeting, And this was one of the agenda in their meeting as well, that that they are coming under pressure from the United States. So instead of bilaterally, we should actually work together and maybe negotiate collectively with the United States. And this is what happened, over decades within the first GATT and then with the WTO, that there are issues, there are different issues, there are different levels of development. So we can't just say that, you are charging 10%, we will charge you 10%. Because, you can't equate United States economy with an economy with Tanzania or with India or with Sri Lanka. There are certain levels of development, there are certain specific issues, particularly about agriculture goods and many other, low industrial goods and, the many other issues. So all those things were negotiated, and then you come to a conclusion that these are the tariff rates, which you would, if some product is coming from a least developed country, you may not charge anything. If some products are coming from a developing country, one by one you negotiate with them, and then you come to a conclusion, yes, that India would charge 10%, but the United States will charge 3%, because this is what exactly is. We are not talking about trade in the typical sense, we are talking about the fair trade. It means everybody benefited from this trade.
Okay, and Professor Sachdeva, does WTO have any power to intervene in the matter? Earlier, China, the beginning of this trade war, had said that they will approach the WTO. Can the global institution do anything about it?
Well, of course, Chinese have already approached WTO. And earlier, there is obviously a mechanism of dispute settlement, because when you feel that a country which is not, certain kind of bilateral trading arrangements are permitted within WTO itself. So it's not something that you're doing bilateral trade agreement, but then you do through WTO, announce through the WTO, and everybody else should also know what you are negotiating. And they should also, it means, you do not raise tariff against others. Once you're reducing tariff against, vis-a-vis one particular party within WTO. So the rules were there, so it means you negotiate, with the collective strength, and you come to a certain conclusion. There is a dispute settlement, but the United States, in the earlier Trump administration, they moved out from this, the whole, dispute settlement mechanism itself in a practical way. So that's not really functioning to some extent. But there is a mechanism within that. So that is exactly, in fact, many countries, those who would believe a multilateral institution like WTO, that you are a member of WTO. And if United States have a particular objection to a country A, B, C, that they are not opening their markets, or there is certain dumping, there is something else, they can approach that particular WTO mechanism itself. And then within that, then in fact, in the past, there have been many instances, like India has approached, Europeans have approached, many others have also approached.
Okay.
So some cases go in your favor, some cases go in the other country's favor. And then you just have to, agree to those. So there are mechanisms within that. But now we are not using those mechanisms. What they are saying is that you are charging, certain percentage of tariff from us.
Okay.
So we should be also tariff by tariff exactly by the same manner. And then otherwise, you just negotiate with us bilaterally. And if everybody start bilaterally negotiating with the United States, it means then, you are weakening, basically already weakened the WTO mechanism altogether.
And finally, coming back to the implications for the 90-day tariff pause for India, given the political and economic realities of engaging with America today, does this pause give a certain window for the negotiations, the trade negotiations that are underway, the vision of $500 billion trade between India and the US?
Well, I think this is what I think for India, this is a positive thing, because we have already started bilateral trade negotiations. Terms have already been agreed. So, and I think because of also very close strategic and political relationship with the United States, there is a possibility that within 3 months, we would be able to perhaps clinch a deal with the United States. But I think we also need to work with many other partners as well, because ultimately, they also need to be forced. You also have to work with the Europeans. You also have to work with the, many Japanese and with the Koreans and with anybody else, those who are like-minded countries, those who also, the countries which are also feeling. So you have to have a multi-pronged kind of strategy. You do work, there is a certain window of opportunity, but there is only 10% tariffs is already kind of, imposed on you. So earlier, in fact, many people were calculating that, if India has been, slapped 26% tariff, but Bangladesh and Vietnam and etc., some of our competitors in certain products, so then India might benefit. Now those calculations do not work now because everybody is just on 10%, at least for the next 3 months. So, there is no specific advantage to any country. So only thing now what you are going to do is, if you are competitive, but then you also have to negotiate, means basically that you have to also open certain markets for US products. It could be agriculture products, it could be services, it could be certain other kind of thing which perhaps they are looking for.
Okay.
So those negotiations are there, and I think our policymakers are quite aware of those sensitivities in some of those sectors. So there are tough negotiations ahead, but 3 month, I think, time is enough period, and this is what perhaps they have given 3 month period to everyone to come back to us and then negotiate and open. And I think they would also expect China to come back within those 3 months, and perhaps they would also work with the Europeans. Those are also another major trading partners of the United States. So there is, yes, for India, it's relatively, I would say, a positive development that you can work. But there's no special advantage as far as India is concerned, unless our products were just competing with the Chinese products. And then since China has till the time there's a problem, so you might have certain advantage in some of those products. But I think we were looking more of those products with some other Southeast Asian countries or other South countries. Now, though that particular advantage at the moment is not there, so we have to just work on those negotiations. That it can work, somehow for the benefit for Indian market or Indian products.
Okay. Professor Gulshan Sachdeva, thank you for joining us and sharing your perspective.
Thank you. Thank you.
India's Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman co-chaired the 13th India-UK Economic and Financial Dialogue with her British counterpart, Chancellor Rachel Reeves, in London on Wednesday. India and the UK reaffirmed their commitment to continue collaboration in financial services sector, fintech, digital economy, and between respective regulatory bodies. The two sides also agreed to collaborate at bilateral and multilateral fora to address mutual and global economic issues. The dialogue concluded with the adoption of joint statement by Finance Minister of India and Chancellor of Exchequer of the United Kingdom. Both sides look forward to furthering bilateral relations and continuing negotiations at pace towards a mutually beneficial free trade agreement, FTA, and bilateral investment treaty. India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh participated in the annual day celebration of Defence Staff Training College in southern India's Wellington. This morning, the minister laid wreath at the Shaheed Smarak in pursuit of the need to modernize and remain relevant for the future. Ministry of Defence has decided to observe the year as the year of reforms. This would aim at transforming the armed forces to technologically advanced combat-ready force capable of multi-domain integrated operations. Addressing the gathering, Rajnath Singh said 9 broad areas have been identified addressing the entire range of modernization, imperative to include defence acquisitions and procedural reforms.
The start point has to be the development and the modernization of our armed forces. Technology today is not a support element but a decisive enabler of operations. Our armed forces must therefore not only keep pace with technological changes but also lead it. The need for us is to develop low-cost, high-tech solutions and enhance the fighting capability of the armed forces. In order to remain capable and relevant for future wars, we need to vigorously pursue the transformation of our armed forces.
Some weather update. Several parts of India received rainfalls in the wee hours on Thursday in North India's Uttarakhand, Karnaprayag, Tarali and Tarali Deval, which were obstructed due to overflowing of a seasonal river due to rains in Tarali of Chamoli district have been smoothened. Vehicles were damaged in the incident. However, there are no reports of anyone getting injured in the incident. District Magistrate Sandeep Tiwari has appealed to the people of the district not to move in accident-prone areas in case of rains. Light rains brought relief to parts of Lucknow and Kanpur in North Indian state of Uttar Pradesh. with India's Met Department predicting partly cloudy skies and thundershowers for Thursday, while Delhi, Punjab and Haryana are expected to experience temporary relief from the scorching heat wave with light rains and thunderstorms forecast for April 10th and 11th. Meanwhile, tragedy struck eastern Indian state of Bihar as lightning strikes in 4 districts killed at least 19 people. Severe weather conditions, including thunderstorms, hailstorms and lightning strikes, have caused widespread devastation. District-wise, 5 fatalities have been reported in Begusarai, 5 in Darbhanga, 3 in Madhubani, 2 each in Saharsa and Samastipur, and 1 death each has been reported in Lakhisarai and Gaya due to lightning strikes. Let's now turn to other stories making news today. Security forces are searching for 2 to 3 suspected terrorists hiding in forest of Martha village located in Udhampur district of the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. The operation has been ongoing since yesterday as confirmed by SSP Udhampur Amod Ashok Nagpure. Time-delayed visuals of the operation have been released. In Balrampur district, surrendered Maoists are being provided homes under Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. A total of 23 such individuals have benefited from the scheme. Initiatives like these continue in Chhattisgarh as surrendered Maoists benefit from government schemes. Such efforts are expected to play a key role in ending red terror in the region. For more than 20 years, Nagpur-based animal lover and activist Satpurush has been waking up at dawn to feed birds across the city. Come rain or shine, his daily routine includes scattering grains at designated spots where flocks of pigeons, sparrows, crows eagerly await in a city where concrete is fast replacing green cover. Wankere's efforts serve as a powerful reminder of coexistence and compassion. Still to come on DD India News Hour. In sports, informed Royal Challengers Bengaluru will take on Delhi in their IPL 2025 match in Bengaluru. Unseeded Alessandro Tabilo stuns twice champion Novak Djokovic in the second round of Monte Carlo Masters. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. Some market updates. Stocks have rebounded strongly in the aftermath of US President Donald Trump's reversing his sweeping tariffs. Japan's benchmark Nikkei surged more than 9%. Auto giant Toyota's share price rose almost 10%, while rival Honda climbed more than 8% higher. While Taipei's 9.3% gain was its best rise on record. In Australia, the ASX 200 jumped more than 6%. Meanwhile, European stock markets rebounded sharply in early deals on Thursday. Frankfurt jumped more than 7% to almost a half hour into trading. Paris gained 7.3%, London 5.3%, following rallies on Wall Street and in Asia. The surge echoes the jump overnight on Wall Street, which had one of its best days in history, with the S&P 500 surging some 9.5%. Dow index soared to close nearly 8% higher, while the Nasdaq rose 12.2% to notch its best day in about 24 years. On to sports. Olympic Games are set to feature more quota places for women, as female athletes will be in the majority for the first time at the 2028 Los Angeles Summer Games. The International Olympic Committee confirmed that there would be 5,333 core quota spots for female athletes and 5,167 for men. The landmark announcement saw women's football tournament expanded to 16 teams from 12, while the men's competition would shrink from 16 to 12. The IOC said reason for the sharp increase in women's soccer teams was rapidly growing popularity of women's team sports, especially in the US. International Olympic Committee announced on Wednesday that compound archery will be making its debut at the Los Angeles LA Olympics in 2028. The compound mixed team competition joins the 5 existing recurve events, bringing the total number of archery medals available to 6. It is the first time since archery's reintroduction to Olympic Games in the year 1972 that a new bow style has been added to the competition. World Archery President Professor Dr. Uyghur Adna also said this is a monumental step forward for the sport and for the millions of compound archers worldwide who have long sought Olympic recognition. In cricket, Indian Premier League informed Royal Challengers Bengaluru take on Delhi Capitals in the battle for supremacy at the Chinnaswamy Stadium on Thursday. Now, both teams have started their campaign on a positive note. RCB won 3 of the 4 matches, while Delhi has secured 3 straight victories. RCB have enjoyed consistent contributions from Virat Kohli and Jitesh Sharma. Experienced left-arm spinner Krunal Pandey has exceeded expectations with the ball. Delhi, on the other hand, have a balanced squad. KL Rahul, Abhishek Porel, Faf du Plessis have provided explosive starts at the top, while Tristan Stubbs and Ashutosh Sharma have proven their mettle as reliable finishers. With Mitchell Starc and Akshar Patel spearheading the bowling attack, Bengaluru is poised for a high-octane encounter. In tennis, unseeded Alejandro Tabilo defeated twice champion Novak Djokovic 6-3, 6-4 in the second round of Monte Carlo Masters on Wednesday. Now, the win maintains a remarkable 100% win record over the 24-time major winner, Djokovic, who suffered a shock defeat in the Miami Open final last month, had recovered a bye into the last 32 but came up short against Tabilo. Tabilo has yet to drop a set against Djokovic as the 27-year-old registered back-to-back wins over the Serbian on clay. Djokovic was chasing his 100th tour-level title, while winning the Monte Carlo title would have made the 37-year-old the only player to win each Masters event at least 3 times. On the occasion of Mahavir Jayanti today, Prime Minister Narendra Modi paid tributes to Lord Mahavir. Prime Minister writes on X, and I quote, "We all bow to Lord Mahavir, who always emphasized on non-violence, truth and compassion. His ideals gave strength to countless people all around the world. His teachings have been beautifully preserved and popularized by the Jain community. Inspired by Lord Mahavir, excelled in different walks of life and contributed to societal well-being." He further added that the government will always work to fulfill the vision of Lord Mahavir. The government last year conferred the status of classical language on Prakrit, a decision which received a lot of appreciation. India, the land of diverse faiths and timeless traditions, is celebrating Mahavir Jayanti today, a day that marks the birth anniversary of Lord Mahavir, the 24th Tirthankara of Jainism. Our next report takes a closer look at the religious significance of the day and its relevance in the world.
Mahavir Jayanti is one of the most auspicious festivals of the Jain community, commemorating the birth of Lord Mahavir, who was born in 599 BC in Kundagrama, present-day in Bihar. A spiritual reformer and profound thinker, Lord Mahavir propagated the path of non-violence, truth, celibacy, non-possessiveness and non-stealing, the 5 cardinal principles of Jainism. On this day, devotees visit temples, offer prayers and participate in Rath Yatras, carrying the idol of Lord Mahavir, accompanied by devotional songs and sermons. Many engage in acts of charity and selfless service, reflecting the teachings of the Tirthankara, who renounced worldly pleasures in pursuit of spiritual liberation.
As a Jain myself, I think I've grown up with the tenets of non-violence, ahimsa paramo dharma, and vairagya, which is non-attachment to the physical things in life, and these are the lessons that Lord Mahavir Swami, he taught us through his life. We celebrate those tenets, and I think not just the Jain community, but the entire world needs to understand and follow the tenets of non-violence, because that is what we need considering whatever is going on around the world.
Lord Mahavir's message of ahimsa or non-violence resonates beyond religious boundaries and continues to inspire peace movements globally. In an era of growing unrest, his teachings offer a beacon of hope and ethical living. As India celebrates Mahavir Jayanti, the message of compassion and non-violence finds renewed relevance in today's world, a timeless tribute to a path of peace and purity. Kriti Vadhera's report for DD India.
And that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. Let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS. Scan the QR code, download now. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.